So this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to utilize the Pathfinder and the Shape Modes tool. It might be a really useful tool to have when you're creating a logo, as well as how do you expand a line from a line segment into a shape. So we're going to start off. Let's say you have this, this logo here. You have some really basic shapes and you're like, oh my gosh, that looks really complex to draw and it's not going to be perfect. So how could you break that down into shapes and construct it in a way that we can kind of manipulate from there? So I'm going to just start out with a circle tool holding the shift key, copy paste, paste. So if I select all of them, I can see where they kind of overlap. You could also, if you want to see that better, you could switch them to outlines so you could see where they overlap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the shape modes to create the shape in the middle. So this first one is a unite. So if you hover over it, it'll tell you, it'll unite it and it makes it one. So you can use that to create a shape. You could also use this one, so to find a shape that you want to draw but having a hard time creating it. You could use this shape mode, which finds where they all intersect. So if you needed that exact shape created, you think about other shapes that could create that. And then this one kind of flips the opposite. So now these shapes in the middle are now holes. They're not an actual shape, but where they intersect and overlap, you've got new shapes created. Okay. If we go to Pathfinders here, this one breaks it all apart. So wherever they're overlapping, it now becomes a new shape. So I can select this, and change and manipulate it from there. Or maybe I wanted to just create the shape in the middle, and there we go. We have a really nice kind of abstract flower created. So what I want you to do is just play around with these different shape modes and Pathfinders, because it will probably help you when you're trying to create a logo and you need a certain shape created to build your logo and to unite the logo. The other thing, if you have a path, so let's say you draw one with the pen tool. So we've got this path. Let's flip it from a fill to an outline. Oops. And let's put a pretty heavy stroke on it, 22-point stroke. And let's say we don't want this to be a line segment, however, we want it to be a shape. All you do is select the object and go to Object, Expand. You want to fill it, and now we have a shape. You can use that as a tool to create something and then manipulate as well. So I could kind of create this and then manipulate the line a little bit if we're trying to create something interesting like that, but it's a little harder to draw freehand. Another one is if you have the paintbrush tool and I paint a stroke, right? And let's say I want it to be, go to brush palettes. So if you go to your window and make sure brushes is checked, from this drop down you can open up a huge brush library. There's all kinds of brush options here. Chalk, I'll just show you what charcoal pencil looks like. Here's some options for that. So let's say I take that and I want to draw that. Let's add a stroke to it to make it a little heavier. And maybe that's going to be a texture I create on my logo, or maybe you want something like that used for something else. Right now it's a line segment, so if we manipulate the line, we can change the curve of it. We can delete anchor points, add anchor points, but you can also go to Object, Expand, and it now becomes a filled shape. So you may also want to use that at some point when you're creating some design work. From there you can also take single anchor points that make up this drawing and change and manipulate it. Okay. So down here I'll just show you what the shape tool or the shape modes and Pathfinders do. unite makes one. Got one piece. This will do the opposite. And punches the hole out. This one will break it up into separate pieces, so wherever they overlap becomes a new shape. This gets rid of the lines where they overlap, so now this is a shape, and that's a shape. So play around with it, and this tool may be useful for you as you start creating your logo. So I'd like you to try it for yourself. Play around with the Pathfinder and shape modes and maybe the expansion option under Object.